The galaxy had long dismissed humanity as a legend, a mere myth, whispered among the elder. Races' stories told of a ruthless species from a forgotten, wilder race so stubborn that even the gods of entropy could not break them. No evidence of their existence. Remained no home world, no ruins, no records, just myths of a terrifying force that had once shaped the stars before. Vanishing into obscure for centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled unchallenged its empires, stretching across thousands of worlds. They believed themselves the pinnacle of civilization, their fleets unmatched, their technology supreme. But when the Drek Dominion launched its campaign of conquests, willowing entire systems in flames, the Council's power began to crack. No one could stop. The Drek no one dared until the sky over Xanthara Prime split. Apart, a rift unlike anything seen before burned through space. Tearing reality asunder from its depths emerged ships. Unlike any the galaxy had ever known, they were not sleek and elegant, like those of the Avery, nor vast and organic like the Zori hive ships. No, these vessels were angular, brutal, and battle-scarred. Machines of war forged in the heart of an unseen battlefield. Their hulls bore no insignia. Their weapons crackled with a power that had not been witnessed in millennia. And then the transmission came a single message, a voice deep and resolute, speaking in a language thought lost of time. We are human, and we have returned. The Drek scoffed at the announcement to them. Humanity was a ghost story meant to scare the weak. They believed their own power to be absolute, so they fired the first shot. A Drek warship unleashed its plasma lances, scorching towards the lead human vessel. The blast should have melted through any known shielding should have reduced the primitive relics to dust, but the human ship did not falter. Its armor absorbed the hit like a beast waking from slumber, and then it retaliated. Return volley was not a sleek beam of energy, nor an elegant display of technological superiority. It was raw destruction, kinetic rounds the size of buildings moving so fast they burned through. Space itself slammed into the Drek fleet. Shields meant to withstand the might of the Council shattered like glass. The humans did not wait. They advanced. Their ships moved with terrifying precision, formation. Tight movements practiced. They did not waste a single shot. They fought with the cold efficiency of a species that had survived the impossible before. The battle did not last long. The Drek, once unstoppable, found themselves obliterated in mere hours. Their mighty flagships were reduced to floating husks. Their warlords, who had terrorized Thesters for centuries, fell silent. And then, as suddenly as they had arrived, the humans spoke again. This galaxy forgot us. You erased our history. You whispered of our end. A pause. You were wrong. Across the stars empires trembled. Legend of humanity had returned, not as myth, but as reality, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the battle over Xanthara Prime sent shock waves through the galaxy. The Dre Dominion, once an unstoppable force, had been utterly crushed. What was meant to be an easy conquest had turned into a massacre. The Galactic Council, watching from their ivory tower, struggled to comprehend what had just occurred. The legends had spoken of humanity as a brutal but fallen species that had burned too brightly and consumed itself in its own wars. Yet here they were, their ships sprawling, the wreckage scavenging their defeated foes with a cold efficiency. The humans had not come for diplomacy. They had not arrived seeking gullies or forgiveness for their long absence. They had come as conquerors. High Chancellor Vexer of the Alvari Dominion stood in stunned silence. Sia's reports poured into the grand hall of the council. The battle had lasted only 4 hours. The Dre Armada, over for 1,000 warships strong, had been eradicated even the most powerful. Empires in the council had never achieved such a swift and decisive victory. Vexer blood ran cold as she watched the human fleet on the whole Mapthyr warships forming an impenetrable wall in Drek-controlled space. No hail-snow diplomatic gestures, just an eerie silence as if they were waiting for something Have. We sent a delegation, one of the counselors, Azari brood. Lord rasped his mandibles, clicked nervously, a clear sign of unease. We attempted Vexer, said, gripping the edges of the table. They ignored. Our messages, no response, no threats, nothing. That silence is worse than any declaration of war. A reptilian counselor from the Zereth call. Syndicate growled. Vexer didn't disagree. Sans was Thuipon of predators. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, Admiral Elias Varos watched as his fleet finished their sweep of the battlefield. The humans had left nothing salvable for the enemy. What remained of the Drek fleet was now little more than floating scrap. The ship's AI designated Omen projected casualty reports onto his command console. Drek forces eliminated 98% human casualties, 0. 4%. Vuz exhaled slowly. That's too easy, he muttered. They were supposed to be the apex predators of this sector. Captain Ren Vasquez, standing beside him, smirked. They thought we were a myth. Admiral Ghost Stories don't usually shoot back. Voss wasn't smiling. They didn't understand what they were facing, not yet, but they will. A low chime echoed across the bridgeman's synthetic voice, broke the silence. We have intercepted council communications. They are watching. They are afraid. Good. Barras said, let them be afraid. Let them remember. His eyes darkened as he turned towards the viewport, staring into Thevoid, where the council's greatest empires lay. Prepare the fleet, he commanded. We're just getting started for the first time in recorded historic galactic. Council was paralyzed by fear. The humans had reappeared like wraiths from the abyss, their warships scudding through the Drek Dominion's armada with an efficiency that defied logic. But it wasn't just their firepower that terrified the council. It was their silence. No boasts, no threats, no ultimatums. Just the quiet, methodical destruction of anyone who stood in their path. On the council's capital, World Zor High Chancellor Vexer convened an emergency summit. The Grand Hall, usually a place of calculated politics and quiet diplomacy, was now filled with whisper-soft dread. Every empire had sent a representative. Even the Zari, sworn notorious for their disdain of the council, had joined the gathering. A massive holographic projection displayed the latest reports. The humans hadn't stopped at the Drek Armada. They were systematically dismantling the Dominion's empire station by station, world by world. The Drek, once feared as brutal conquerors, were now little more than prey. This is a crisis unlike any other, Vexer said, her silver eyes scanning Therum. The humans are no longer myths. They are real, and they are advancing a Zereth Cal. General clicked his claws against the stone table. Have they made any attempt to communicate? A tense pause followed. Bear, one of the ELV envoys, a deep blue-skinned diplomat named Cal Theris, shook his head. Nothing. They don't negotiate. They don't respond. They only act. A Zari brood mother let out a sharp chitter. Then they are no different than the Drek. We should unite and exterminate them before they become unstoppable. Vexer jaw tightened. How arrogant. The Zari had always believed in brute force, but even they should have recognized the futility of such applin. "You misunderstand," she said. "We do not face a mindless swarm or a warlord's ambition. We face something else entirely." The room fell silent as Shega stirred to the next report. The holographic display shifted, revealing grainy footage of a captured human transmission it had been intercepted from. A human ship, one of the few pieces of intel they had managed to obtain. A voice deep and calm filled the chamber. "We do not seek war, but we will not be forgotten." Then the screen changed against us, time showing a planet the humans had recently taken. From the Drek, instead of the expected mass slaughter, something far more chilling was unfolding. The humans were rebuilding factories. Roaretto, life under their control, orbital defenses were being reconstructed. The local populace, many of whom had been subjugated by the Drek, were left unharmed. This Kellis muttered, staring at the image in disbelief. "This is not the work of conquerors, this is the work of an empire. Vexer finished a species that never did, a species that is reclaiming what it lost." The realization settled over the council like a shroud. The humans had not returned for vengeance. They had returned to rule far beyond the council chambers aboard the UHS Retribution. Admiral Elias Voss watched as the planet below, once a Drek stronghold, was brought under human control. His officers worked, efficient leather movements precise, their faces hardened with the knowledge that they were carrying out something far greater than a simple campaign. This was their legacy. The galaxy had cast humanity aside, erased fear, history, and moved on. That mistake would not be repeated. A soft chime from the console broke his thoughts. The fleet had intercepted another transmission from the council. This one was urgent, a request for peace. Toxvaros exhaled slowly, a grim smile touching his lips. "They finally understand," he murmured. Captain Vasquez raised an eyebrow. "What now?" "Admiral, do we negotiate?" Voss turned to face his officers, his voice steady. "Not yet." He looked back at the viewport, where the rest of the fleet loomed, their weapons gleaming in the cold void. "First," he said, "we make them remember who we are." The Galactic Council's mess requesting peace talks had gone unanswered. Days passed, then weak silence was all they received in return. Yet the humans did not strike. They did not invade council worlds, nor did they make demands. They simply continued their methodical dismantling of the Drek. Dominion taking system after system with brutal efficiency. The Drek who had once terrorized the stars were now running, scattering like insects before an oncoming fire. It was not a war. It was an